All right, John. So that's it for the movie. How'd you feel about it?
I had a good time with it. It
Two thumbs
was yeah, there was enough Goblin
Okay.
Slade that I would give it a 2 thumbs up.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
all
fair.
right.
That's fair.
All right.
Yeah, when it came down to it, that was what I wanted from a Goblin Slayer movie. I mean, really, I was kind of like trying to think outside the box, but really, when it came down to it,
I mean, yeah,
that's what I wanted. I mean, it kind of did feel on the same lines as like maybe a set of episodes.
yeah,
And
kind
maybe
of.
it could have been that, but overall, I mean, it's not bad the way that it was done.
Right.
So
Yeah.
at least I didn't have to wait, 3-4 weeks for this whole story to
True.
unfold.
True.
So I mean, and they did have to fight someone a little harder, even though, I will have to say maybe jumping ahead of getting out of order, but whenever they were at whenever Goblin Slayer found out they were at an ordination, whatever ceremony, he was like, we messed up. We need to get out of here. Kind of
Right.
like he was like, this is bad.
Uh-huh.
And whenever he actually faced what was it, a paladin?
The Goblin Paladin, yeah.
I never felt like he was really at a disadvantage,
Yeah.
like he was with some of the other
Yeah.
other things that he fought, like the Goblin
The champion, yeah.
Like I
the
never felt
Hobgoblin,
like he
yeah.
was in like any
Right.
danger. Like the only thing that I felt was a threat was possibly how he was smart
Mhm.
and how quickly he could adapt and how quickly they had went from getting the girl's sword to taking her because they knew she could use lightning and they needed to use her to
Right.
smelt or whatever, forge
Right.
weapons through lightning.
Uh-huh.
I was like, wow, that's insane.
Mhm.
But that was really the only threat I saw from him was how smart he was.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like, strength wise he was any threat. I mean,
Right.
he keep up with sword fighting, but obviously Goblin Slayer is going to have some kind of this off the wall thing that no goblin or human or anybody would have thought of.
And thinking about it too, that's actually good that you brought that up because, as we saw in the recap, like the Goblin Lord, the Goblin Lord, I would think is because he was like kind of cowardly, because I think we talked about it during the recap.
Yeah,
like,
how he's begging.
yeah,
And
he would
throw him
like
off.
he would use like these dirty tricks to like throw people off. But even then, like when he was fighting the Goblin Slayer, like the Goblin Lord was doing pretty good for himself. He actually got the Goblin Slayer down on the ground. It wasn't until the priestess came in and saved him that's when the advantage, went back to the Goblin Slayer. But
and normally for a movie, you want to kind of amp it up, amp up your bad guys like way past anything in the series.
Right, and the other thing too is like the Goblin Paladin. That whole fight, the Goblin Paladin was just doing like this. Which, I guess with his sword, that makes sense.
Yeah,
because
it is kind of a fencing.
Yeah, but I guess I'm more thinking about like the animation. I was expecting
strategy,
like really cool, because I don't know, it's a movie, right? So you want to, they did do pretty good job with the budget, but it's like I was expecting more for that final fight though, like make the Goblins, Paladins, and Goblin Slayers like movements look more fluid, look better.
I was actually thinking in the middle of the fight, he would have Goblin Slayer would have more thoughts of, oh, he's learning, he's adapting to my movements.
Mm-hmm.
He did say he was learning,
right,
and about one particular skill, but I figured as the fight progressed, he would say, oh, he's catching on. I gotta change up something like he's never seen, but he never did. Evidently he didn't learn that fast.
Right, yeah.
He was never that much of a threat.
Right.
So,
yeah. The avalanche was more of a threat.
Wow. Yeah, which was funny that he was thinking that far ahead that, if things get down to it, we're just going to avalanche this thing and just knock them all out at once.
I mean, I guess that's just the way that he works. So, but what do you think about the nobleman's daughter, the fencer,
swordsman,
yeah.
I guess I like her character. I don't know if I got a fair assessment of her character, honestly. And we kind of talked about that. I never maybe saw her at her best. Like her best might have been the opening credits whenever they were saw her like buzzing through the town, wiping them all out pretty quick, and she was all happy and just hey, we got all them goblins. We just keep them going. We're gonna take them all out.
Right.
Maybe that was the only time we ever really saw her at her best, but we didn't really see that much of it. So I don't want to try to downplay her because, as far as like maybe thinking about how she would work in the group, I don't fully know. Like she does have magic, she does have swordsman skills and potentially other things that she could use. I mean, she's the daughter of a nobleman.
Right.
She'd have access to a lot more money where they could buy whatever that Goblin Slayer could use in some dumb way and break. But she's gone through all these things. She's been held captive. She's been branded. She's going through all this trauma of losing all of her friends and party that were with her. I mean, she was possibly things were done to her. We don't really know
I'm sure
to what degree things were done to her whenever she was in there. But she's got all these different things that are weighing on her after they release her. That you can just tell that she's unsure. She's timid in some ways. She's I think at first, what was it? She didn't want to go with them, maybe?
No, she definitely wanted to go with them. She definitely she was like, I'm going to take back everything that I lost. And then she cut off her hair. It's like, here's the down payment.
That's true, yeah.
I'm going to give you the down payment.
I was thinking that she had a moment where she was just like...
She did have a moment once the brand started like, doing whatever, and then the goblins realized that they were there. That's when she was like, I want to go home. I don't want to do this anymore. And then I want my sword back.
Yeah.
And then the Goblin Slayer was like, okay, yeah, I'll get you your sword back, and we'll get you out of here. So she did have that moment, but like...
But how do you feel about her, though?
I was saying this throughout the whole movie, pretty much. I was like, I really do want her to join the script, because I feel like this adventure that they just had, I don't know if that healed her completely, but at the very least, I feel like she is now able to, I guess, cope with what happened to her.
Maybe strengthened her
character a little bit. Yeah. Strengthened her resolve. And I would definitely like to see her come back. She definitely brings a lot to the team. I mean, lightning, and she's obviously a good swordsman. But now, is she as good as Goblin Slayer? Is she better than Goblin Slayer? I don't know. I would think she might be better in terms of
maybe she don't fight as dirty. I don't know. Maybe she's actually a proper swordsman.
Right. But honestly, though, that if she did come back and then Goblin Slayer would train her to how to fight goblins, like she would probably be even better. To be honest with you, so I think she would be an interesting addition to the team. So I was kind of sad to see her leave, but. Yeah. She can always come back. Because I can see like the priestess being like, "Oh, hey, yeah, we're gonna go to this town, blah blah blah. It's infested with a billion goblins, but we're gonna go in there and take them out." And then she gets that letter, and she's like, "Oh, well, I guess I better, go out there too." So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm just saying that's kind of generic, but
I could see them, Goblin Slayer being like, "Oh, well, let's just lure all these goblins into this lake, and on the signal,
right,
you fry them."
Right, yeah, and like I said, she could bring a pretty good skill set to the team, I think. So I would definitely love to see more of her. And honestly, even if she comes back and she's still traumatized, I think just doing this would help. Ideally, I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know if that actually is a good thing or not.
Coping skills.
Yeah, I don't know if that's
good. Gotta kill at least 10 goblins a day.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. But in terms of the story, I think it would be interesting to see. So.
Yeah. I mean, and that's fair. Yeah, because maybe I was judging her too hard because really I didn't see her full potential, like I said. So I don't want to just say she'd be great for the team and. She ends up being held back by those things longer than maybe she should have.
Yeah, see that would be the one thing. Like if they keep playing off of that, like they go into a dungeon or whatever, and then
she breaks down.
She starts breaking down again. Like I don't mind that maybe once in a while or something, but
Yeah.
Not like every single time they have an adventure, he's like, oh no, I've got the brand. Oh no.
Yeah, like I wonder if they actually got rid of that, or if it,
I don't know. I don't think I mean.
Because at one point, I remember the Goblin Slayer turning toward the priest and being like, take care of that, or something like that.
I think she tried to use a healing spell to like try to
maybe just ease the pain of it.
Ease the pain maybe, but I don't know. I would hate if she did come back and that's all she ever did was just break down and cry. But I don't think that's, at least I would hope that wouldn't be the case. I think it'd be nice if they kind of expanded her character and showed her overcoming her PTSD. I mean, as best as you can, I guess. I mean, I really don't know, but really coming back as a stronger character and contributing more to the team. So that'd be kind of nice.
Yeah.
So moving on from that, what do you think about the goblins? Like how they're adapting quickly. I know we talked about the paladin, but just the goblins in general. Like,
yeah. I mean, I did think that was interesting because whenever he had him fire the loose arrowhead, or had the elf fire the loose arrowhead into the one, see, I wasn't thinking about it's gonna cause a wound to fester and it'll just take them all out.
Right. Yeah.
I was thinking like he had some kind of enchanted arrowhead that he was gonna use magic, or maybe that one drag would use the bones to find them.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking like it's gonna leave a blood trail and it's gonna lead them right back to wherever the goblin was staying at. I guess.
Something like that, but the turnaround time between the goblins seeing that and the entire goblin archery unit changing up their arrowheads was pretty impressive and scary at the same time, just because of how they were able to just do that. And then they got the girl's sword, and within a short amount of time they figured out, or they were on the verge of figuring out how to reinforce their weapons and make them even stronger.
Yeah. And
they know they needed her, so they were going to keep her and kind of utilize her, and that method of just turning her into a lightning foundry, I guess.
I guess so, yeah. I guess that's what that was.
And just having her there as their automatic way to make weapons better.
Yeah, that really is actually kind of scary now to think about it. Like it's scary enough when you've got like a horde of goblins, like just in the numbers. Numbers are crazy, but like when you've got goblins that have upgraded weapons, that's even worse.
Yeah.
That's like I think in D&D, like goblins are only like what, like 0.5 challenge rating or something like that.
Yeah,
whatever.
Not really typically normally anything of a challenge. And for the most part, when the show started, that's kind of how they were treated. They were just like, they're a nuisance because there's a lot of them. But
and that's where the Ventures probably got the idea. It's like, goblins, whatever, no big deal. And then they realize, these goblins are actually kind of smart. And now they're getting better weapons. And it's like, there's obviously something that's guiding them, at least you would think. That's kind of what they were hinting, like something's guiding them on this path. And
like a collective hive mind or something.
Or they were talking about like a dark elf, I think, or something like that. Or they threw a bunch of different terms out there, but there's like something that's giving them the knowledge to do the things that they can do. And so it's not going to be good for anybody, but hopefully the Goblin Slayer and his crew will be able to, kind of stop that before it gets too far. Hopefully.
Oh yeah. But what about the Fencer Sword Ladies party? I mean, how do you think that? How did you feel about how that went down with them kind of turning on her, basically?
Honestly, I wasn't really surprised. I mean, her plan was pretty good. I'm gonna be honest with you. It was a good idea.
Yeah.
It's just she got the wrong location, because it was the location she thought of was actually just a shrine or something like that. She didn't think they would be in the Dwarven Fortress, or maybe she didn't even know about the Dwarven Fortress. I don't know.
Yeah.
But she had a decent idea, but obviously it didn't work out. They were running out of food, running out of water, I think. They were cold, they were exhausted, all these different factors, and who knows how many days they were up there.
Yeah, that's true.
It kind of looked like they were up there for I would think maybe a couple weeks. But regardless, you could be the best of friends, right? Best of buddies, but when you're in that situation where again you're cold, you're hungry, you're exhausted, and all this other stuff, it turns from our survival, the group survival, down to the individual survival. Like, if me killing you is going to be to my advantage, then that's what I'm going to do. Because I can't remember the family name, and I'm actually kind of ashamed because it's actually kind of a famous story. But there was like some family back in like the 1800s, I think. They were trying to cross over the Colorado Rockies, and they got stuck, and they end up eating each other, or at least they resorted to cannibalism.
Yeah.
And so, if they can find themselves in that situation, like a family, I would think close-knit family maybe, but regardless, when you get into that situation where it's down to individual survival, then I can definitely see people turning on each other. The only thing that surprised me was just the fact that they volunteered her to go instead of like one of themselves. Like, you know what?
Well, it wasn't really volunteer because if you remember the girl or whatever, girl or guy that went hunting.
I think it was the girl.
I
don't know.
I wasn't sure, but I don't. Well, she came back with the rabbit, and she's like, whenever they talked about supplies, they were like, you need to go do it because you don't do anything.
Right, that's true.
You're not pulling your weight.
That's true, but even still, okay.
Even though it was her plan, and
right.
she was kind of leading them, they had all kind of like turned spiteful of like how much she was so obsessed with this goblin plan that she couldn't leave. She couldn't go get the firewood. She couldn't get the snow to melt into water and boil it and stuff. She was constantly like, she wouldn't even sleep almost. She was constantly fixated on that entrance.
And see, even then though, I would think that they would. I'm actually surprised they didn't just do the exact opposite. Like, you know what? You can stay here. All the rest of us are going to go back to town and get supplies.
That is true.
Like that's what I was expecting. That's the only thing that really surprised me. But obviously that's not what happened, and I can see their logic. But if I were in that situation, I'd be like, you know what?
Yeah.
Forget this.
If this is your plan, you stay there.
Yeah, you just stay right here. I'm going back to town. I'm going to warm up. I'm going to do whatever, and then maybe I'll come back in like a couple days. How about that, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, as far as how that situation went down, I'm honestly not surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
So, do you think everyone, as far as like the core members of the Goblin Slayer team, do you think they all had a decent amount of screen time for this, movie, special, whatever it is? Do you think they all had a fair moment or, kind of chance to provide some kind of...
Right.
Because sometimes, and I ask this just because sometimes in movies or specials, they focus on like the main character.
Yeah.
And they focus on the new character.
Yeah.
And... sometimes the side characters, they're just kind of like, oh, well, they showed them because,
right. Kind of like with Dragon Ball Z, like even in the newest movie, they had Piccolo in there for like 2 minutes just to show them the fusion dance, and then that was it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, honestly, I think they did a pretty good job as far as like, kind of showcasing everyone. I think the only one that may have gotten the shaft was the Lizard Man, but even then, he doesn't really. And I don't want to like make this sound bad, but he doesn't necessarily always stand out. Like he's he's always the helper. He
almost contributes to everyone else's thing.
Right.
Because even around the campfire, he's always constantly talking about things and kind of
giving advice.
And he's whenever like the dwarf want to do something, he's like, hey, let's go do it.
Right.
The elf want to do it. Hey, I need to help you, or that's hey, you need to he's consoling her like, hey, you need to.
Or let me heal you, or something like that.
Don't try to force it. That's gonna rot, and then you'll just lose the whole leg.
Right. Here's my sword, by the way, and otherwise, everybody else, I think everybody had a good amount of screen time. I think.
Yeah. I just kind of wondered like what your thoughts were, because I kind of feel the same way that going through it. I thought this did a pretty good job of balancing everything.
Yeah.
There wasn't a moment where I thought, wow. Why did they even draw that character in there? Because why didn't they just have them stay at the village or whatever for this one? Because they didn't really contribute anything. They didn't, but whenever they thought out this, the story, Everyone had a fair contribution. It was their normal roles. They didn't seem out of place, like they were, doing something like kind of like the newest My Hero Academia movie. There wasn't something out of character whenever he passed all for one over just because he couldn't. He just didn't have much strength left where it was.
Yeah.
There was nothing out of character. I don't want to sidetrack into side tangents,
Right.
but every character acted like the way they would have, should have, and that they all had their moment where they proved that they were vital assets to that whole team as a whole. So I thought they did a really good job with that. I didn't feel like at the end of it, like I said, I didn't feel at the end of it that wow, that person just
Yeah, why are you even here?
Yeah,
why are you even here?
Didn't even need them for this one. But Goblin Slayer definitely always utilizes every tool he has.
Yep, absolutely. Even if it's a new element like that one girl, like you got Thunderspell. I can definitely use that. Let's go. Let's do this thing.
Yeah, here have a underwater breathing room because you might need it.
Yeah, you might need it because I've already thought like 10 steps ahead. But I think everybody was utilized very well in this movie, and honestly, just felt like just another episode, or a very long episode.
Long episode, yeah. No, that's fair. Like we talked about already.
But I do want to, moving on from that, I do kind of want to bring up a couple things. So as I mentioned, the manga, at least from what I've read, it kind of stops like. A little over halfway of this story.
At the coronation kind of thing,
yeah. So I can't really speak for anything that happened afterwards, but everything before pretty much matched what happened in the manga. I think there was some things like the shrine that they went into. The manga kind of explained it a little bit. Like I think there was like a drop off, and then there was the pool with the trap spears or whatever.
Yeah. That was kind of odd. How it was just kind of like. Oh, there's spikes in there,
right.
And then they just kind of did they think that far ahead? And then it just went on.
Right, yeah. The manga actually did a little bit more explaining on that, but it really wasn't that much of a thing, at least I didn't think so. So it wasn't really missing anything there. There was a few things, like the hot springs scene. I don't think that was in the manga, or if it was, I don't remember it being there. And then the part where the one girl, the nobleman's girl, whatever, daughter, the part where of course they bring them into the fortress as prisoners, and then they bring them downstairs, and they open up the door, and then she pops out and she just starts bashing on
starts pummeling and
just the shaman or whatever. In the manga. They kind of touched on it here because you heard the Goblin Slayer he was telling the priestess to heal herself first and then take care of her because she hurt her hands or whatever. There was blood on her hands, but in the manga it actually, I don't know if I want to get too much into this, but it actually shows more damage to her hands.
I guess hitting the armor would have broke skin.
You didn't hit the armor. She hit his face.
Oh, okay.
And also got some of his teeth. So that's why Goblin Slayer was like, go ahead and heal her because if you don't, then she's gonna rot her hands or whatever.
Gotcha. Yeah. At the moment, it didn't click totally, but I was like, well, maybe there's something about the blood, but I didn't really know fully what it was.
I mean, the blood too, probably, but it's just. Definitely the manga showed a lot more detail and kind of explains it a little bit better. There was also a couple other things too, like when they were talking about the god of knowledge or whatever. That whole sequence was actually in the manga. It was actually inside that cave when they first found that one girl. They were talking about it, whereas in here it was actually afterwards when they were downstairs and she was upstairs resting or whatever. So. Really not that big of a deal. If I remember correctly, there was just a couple different scenes like that where they'll, move conversations or move moments to different places.
Maybe where they made it might have been more appropriate.
Possibly, yeah.
Because you wouldn't really want to stand around in their sacrificial chamber and have a discussion of philosophies and different deities and things like that, theology, whatever it is. But
the big point is, as far as I'm aware of, at least now, I'm sure somebody in the comments will correct me, but for the most part, this story was pretty much
Yeah.
what happened in the manga. I mean, again, with a few slight differences here and there, for the most part. So, so yeah, for those that don't want to read the manga, just want to be anime only, I think you pretty much got a good deal out of this movie. So, good idea of the story.
I also think whenever they mentioned her sword was aluminum, you kind of had like a.
Oh yeah.
Was it really?
I think in the manga, of course, this could be just a mistranslation, but I think in the manga they actually called it mithril, maybe.
And maybe we should have looked that up before.
Yeah, maybe we should have.
But
I actually forgot about it until you just mentioned it. But it was definitely not aluminum. Now, again, that could have just been a mistranslation. I don't know, but
I wouldn't see where aluminum would be solid enough to go through that shield. I mean, I know you can really get aluminum pretty hard, but I just don't. As far as like the metal scale, I don't think aluminum's up there. As far as
I want to say they called it mithril in the manga, but I don't know. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I actually didn't pay attention whenever they said aluminum. The few times they did say it, I didn't listen to what Japanese word they might have been saying, because it might have been an English word or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't hear it either. But regardless, so yeah, there was a few minor changes here and there, but
yeah.
Overall, like I said, I would say I would guess maybe 80 to 90% accurate as to what happened in the manga. So
yeah, nice.
All right, guys. So, what did you think of the movie, and what did you think of the nobleman's daughter? Do you think she would be a good addition to the Goblin Slayer group? Let us know down in the comments below.
And if you enjoyed this reaction, definitely subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss any of our videos. Also, check out our Patreon. We would really appreciate the support so we can continue to provide videos like this and other ones in the future, maybe something you would suggest, and definitely just improve the overall quality of our videos. And we would really appreciate it. So we'll see you in the next episode or reaction we do.